In the glittering world of power and wealth, Marcus Lockhart thought he controlled everything. But one encounter with Aria Washington would shatter every illusion of control, proving that true power isn't about money, it's about the vulnerability of the human heart. Listen closely. This isn't just another love story. This is a journey of transformation that will challenge everything you thought you knew about power, success, and true connection. Power isn't something you're given, it's something you take, piece by piece, breath by breath. I learned that lesson long before I could spell my own name. Growing up in a small apartment on the wrong side of Chicago, watching my mother work 3 jobs just to keep food on the table, I understood early that survival meant control. Every cent was a battle, every opportunity a weapon. I didn't just want to escape poverty, I wanted to obliterate it. While other kids dreamed of video games and baseball cards, I was studying balance sheets and teaching myself coding on a second-hand computer my mother saved for months to buy. Those were the moments that shaped me, not with softness, but with a razor-sharp determination that would become my greatest asset. By the time I was 25, I'd already disrupted 3 major tech industries. People started whispering my name in boardrooms. Marcus Lockhart, the guy who could smell $1 million opportunity from 1,000 miles away. They didn't see the countless nights I spent calculating, strategizing, turning potential into profit. Cold? Maybe. Ruthless? Absolutely. But in the world I came from, compassion was a luxury I couldn't afford. My company, Lockhart Innovations, became more than just a business. It was my fortress, impenetrable, strategic. Every relationship, every connection was a calculated move. I didn't build networks, I constructed strategic alliances. Friendship was a distraction. Love? A weakness that could compromise everything I'd worked to build. My penthouse overlooking the city wasn't just an address, it was a statement. Glass walls revealing a panoramic view of a skyline I'd helped reshape. Multiple screens tracking global markets. Custom furniture that cost more than most people's annual salaries. But in those moments of absolute success, surrounded by everything money could buy, there was an emptiness that no algorithm could solve. Success is a lonely summit. I had more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. Magazines labeled me a tech visionary. Investors hung on my every word. But connection, genuine human warmth, those were currencies I didn't know how to trade. My life was a perfectly optimized machine. Efficient, powerful, but fundamentally isolated. People saw the headlines. Marcus Lockhart, the disruptor who rewrote the rules. They saw the tailored suits, the private jets, the Forbes cover stories. What they didn't see was the kid who was still fighting to prove his worth. Every business deal was another chance to show the world that I was more than my beginning. More than the statistics that tried to define me. I didn't just want to win. I needed to dominate. Every negotiation was a chess match, and I was always 10 moves ahead. Emotions were data points to be analyzed, not feelings to be experienced. My reputation wasn't just about being a strategic businessman. It was about being the most feared and respected figure in the tech world. Little did I know, everything I thought I understood about power was about to be challenged. Not by another businessman, not by a competitor, but by a woman who would see right through every wall I'd constructed. I never believed in fate. Algorithms, strategies, calculated risks, those were my religion. But some encounters defy even the most sophisticated predictive models. Aria Washington wasn't just another meeting. She was a disruption I never saw coming. The Global Social Innovation Summit wasn't on my typical circuit. Typically, I'd send a representative, someone who could network while I focused on more critical, strategic moves. But something, call it intuition or a rare moment of curiosity, compelled me to attend personally. She stood out in a room full of polished executives and wannabe change-makers. Not because she was trying to, quite the opposite. While others performed their rehearsed pitches, Arya spoke with a quiet intensity that made everyone else sound like background noise. Her presentation wasn't about impressing investors. It was about real change, about lifting entire communities through sustainable technology. I'd heard countless pitches, seen thousands of proposals promising to change the world. But Arya was different. Her data was meticulous. Her vision was razor-sharp. She wasn't selling a dream. She was presenting a blueprint for systematic transformation. Our first interaction was far from romantic. It was intellectual combat. I questioned every assumption, challenged every projection. In my world, optimism was a liability. But instead of being intimidated, she matched me point for point. Her responses weren't defensive. They were surgical, precise, backed by years of ground-level research. "Mr. Lockhart," she said, her voice steady, "technology isn't just about innovation, it's about human potential." The way she said it, there was no desperation, no plea, just a statement of fundamental truth that seemed to expose something I'd carefully hidden from myself. I was used to people either intimidated by me or trying to impress me. Arya did neither. She saw me, not the billionaire, not the tech mogul, but the person beneath the carefully constructed facade. And that was more terrifying than any business challenge I'd ever faced. Our initial interaction was supposed to be a standard networking moment, a potential investment discussion. But something shifted. It wasn't attraction, not in the conventional sense. It was a collision of two fundamentally different worldviews, each powerful in its own right. Little did I know, this wasn't just a meeting. It was the beginning of a transformation that would challenge everything I believed about success, power, and connection. Arya Washington was about to become the most significant algorithm my life had never predicted. Control is a funny thing. You spend years building walls so thick, so impenetrable, that you forget what it feels like to truly connect. Arya became the first person who didn't just see my walls. She understood why they were built. Our interactions weren't a whirlwind romance. They were a slow, deliberate unraveling. Professional meetings became something more, conversations that stretched beyond spreadsheets and business strategies. She'd challenge me not with aggression, but with a kind of profound empathy that was more disarming than any argument. I remember the day everything started to shift. We were discussing a community technology initiative, a project that would typically be just another line item in my portfolio. But Arya spoke about the real people behind the numbers. She talked about Maria, a single mother who could start a small business because of a micro grant, about Juan, a teenager who could now access education through a technology center. These weren't just statistics to her, they were lives. For the first time, I saw beyond the data points. My entire career had been about optimization, about scaling, about turning human potential into measurable outcomes. Arya was showing me that true value couldn't be confined to a spreadsheet. My colleagues were confused. Marcus Lockhart, the notoriously strategic businessman, spending hours in deep conversation with a social entrepreneur, they whispered. They speculated. But something fundamental was happening, a transformation I couldn't explain through any of my usual metrics. She never tried to change me. That was the most remarkable part. Arya presented another way of seeing the world, not as a challenge, but as an invitation. My walls weren't something to be demolished, but to be understood. Every conversation peeled back another layer, revealing vulnerabilities I'd spent a lifetime protecting. My business empire had been built on the premise that emotions were a weakness, that true power meant absolute control. But Arya was rewriting that equation. She showed me that vulnerability wasn't a flaw. It was a strength I'd never comprehended. The boundaries between professional and personal began to blur. Not in a conventional romantic sense, but in a deeper, more profound connection. She was challenging everything I thought I knew about success, about power, about myself. I was a man who had conquered industries, who had built an empire from nothing. But for the first time, I was facing a challenge that couldn't be solved with an algorithm or a strategic plan. I was learning to surrender, not to her, but to a more authentic version of myself. Little did I know, this was just the beginning of a transformation that would reshape everything I thought I understood about power, success, and connection. Surrender isn't weakness. It's the most profound act of strength I've ever experienced. For years, I believed control was the ultimate power, a fortress built from pain, ambition, and an unrelenting drive to prove my worth. Arya showed me that true power lies in the ability to let go. The moment of transformation wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a single, earth-shattering revelation. It was a series of small surrenders, each more vulnerable than the last. My entire life had been a calculated algorithm, every decision, every relationship mapped out with strategic precision. But love doesn't follow any algorithm I'd ever created. I remember the day everything changed. We were discussing a project that would provide technological infrastructure to underserved communities. But it wasn't just about the technology. It was about human potential, about seeing value beyond profit margins. Arya looked at me, not with the admiration I was accustomed to, not with fear or manipulation, but with a kind of seeing that stripped away every defense I'd carefully constructed. My entire identity had been wrapped in my ability to control, to predict, to dominate. But she challenged me to see beyond that. Success isn't about conquering, she'd say, it's about connecting. Those words would echo in my mind, dismantling everything I thought I knew. The business world watched in confusion. Marcus Lockhart, the ruthless tech mogul, was changing. My approach to business transformed. Suddenly, profitability wasn't just about numbers. It was about impact, about people, about creating opportunities rather than extracting value. I began to understand that my childhood, the struggle, the constant fight for survival, had turned me into a man who saw the world as a battlefield. Arya showed me it could be a collaborative space. That vulnerability was not a weakness, but the most profound strength a human could possess. My empire didn't crumble. It evolved. Each business decision became about more than just profit. It became about purpose, about creating real, meaningful change. The walls I'd built to protect myself became bridges of understanding. The most surprising part: this surrender didn't make me less powerful. It made me more human, more connected, more alive than I'd ever been. I used to measure success by the height of my skyscrapers, the zeros in my bank account, the fear and respect I commanded. Now, I measure it by the lives touched, the potential unlocked, the connections made genuine. Arya didn't complete me. She didn't save me. She simply showed me a mirror, reflecting a version of myself I was too afraid to see. A man capable of true connection, of genuine vulnerability, of understanding that the most powerful algorithm is the human heart. This is my surrender, my transformation, my true power. They say life isn't about the destination, but the journey. For me, it was about unlearning everything I thought I knew about power, success, and connection. Arya wasn't just a person who entered my life. She was a catalyst that transformed my entire understanding of what it means to be truly successful. Looking back, I realized my greatest achievement wasn't building a tech empire. It was learning to break down the walls I'd spent a lifetime constructing. Success isn't measured by the height of your skyscrapers or the zeros in your bank account. It's measured by your capacity to be vulnerable, to connect, to see beyond your own limited perspective. My childhood taught me that survival meant control. My journey with Arya taught me that true strength lies in surrender. Not surrender to another person, but surrender to your most authentic self. The self that's been hiding behind achievements, behind fear. behind the carefully constructed facade of invulnerability. I used to believe that emotions were a weakness to be managed, data points to be analyzed. Now I understand they are the most powerful language we possess. They're the bridge between individual experience and collective understanding. My business strategy shifted from extracting value to creating opportunity, from controlling outcomes to enabling potential. To anyone listening, understand this. Your greatest power isn't in your ability to dominate, but in your courage to be fully, authentically human. The walls we build to protect ourselves are the same walls that keep us from truly living. Success isn't about winning, it's about connecting. It's about seeing the humanity in others and, more importantly, in yourself. Aria didn't change me, she simply showed me a mirror, reflecting a version of myself I was too afraid to see. A man capable of genuine connection, of understanding that the most sophisticated algorithm is the human heart. My name is Marcus Lockhart, and this is how I learned that the most powerful surrender is the one you make to yourself. Listen closely. This isn't just a story about Marcus Lockhart or Aria Washington. This is a blueprint for your own transformation. A roadmap to understanding that the most powerful version of yourself isn't found in conquering the world, but in connecting with it. Every single one of us carries walls. Barriers built from past hurts, childhood struggles, professional disappointments. We construct these walls believing they protect us, but in reality, they're the very things holding us back from our most authentic potential. I'm telling you this not as a billionaire, not as a success story, but as someone who learned the hardest lesson of all. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It's our greatest strength. Think about your own life. How many opportunities have you missed because fear disguised itself as control? How many connections have you sabotaged because you were afraid of being truly seen? We live in a world that celebrates the facade, the perfect LinkedIn profile, the curated social media presence, the illusion of having everything together. But true success, true power, it lives in the moments of raw, unfiltered authenticity. This isn't about changing who you are. It's about understanding who you've always been beneath the layers of protection. Every person has a Marcus Lockhart inside them, a part that believes control is the only way to survive. Every person has an Aria waiting to show them another path, a path of connection, of purpose, of genuine transformation. Your past does not define your future. Your struggles are not your limitations. They're the fuel for your most powerful transformation. I came from a place of scarcity, of constant survival. I built an empire trying to prove my worth. But worth isn't something you prove. It's something you discover. The world will tell you to be harder, faster, more strategic. I'm telling you to be more human, to listen, to connect, to surrender to the most powerful algorithm that exists, the human heart. Your experiences, your pain, your joy, these are not weaknesses. They are your superpowers. This is your invitation. Not to become me, not to follow my exact path, but to begin your own journey of breaking down the walls you've constructed, to understand that the most revolutionary act in a world of artificial connections is to be genuinely, unapologetically yourself. Are you ready to surrender? Are you ready to redefine success on your own terms? Are you prepared to see the power that exists, not in controlling the world, but in truly connecting with it? Your transformation starts now, not tomorrow, not next week, right here, right now.